This module will cover how to enter data into the Feed Demand Calculator. Click on Get Started to proceed. The supply screen is used to set up the pasture feed base for your operation, enabling the tool to calculate how much feed you produce and of what quality at different times of the year. Average pasture growth and quality information is programmed into the Feed Demand Calculator for a number of locations in Southern Australia. You can either let the browser find the closest location to you, or you can choose from the list of predefined locations and choose the one that is closest to your property, almost similar in terms of climatic conditions. You also need to indicate the grazing area of your property. If the property has rough or bush paddocks that produce very little feed, then this area can be left out. Note also that very hilly paddocks or properties can have up to 5% more grazing area compared with flat land. Next, indicate the type and amount of supplementary feed that you normally use over the course of a year, so that the tool can add this to the feed supply curve, in addition to the pasture information that you have already provided. You can choose from a number of typical supplement types in the drop-down list. To check and possibly edit their quality values, go to the Customize section and navigate to Supplement Types. If you cannot find your supplement type in the list, click on Add New Supplement Type to specify a name and quality value. Click the green tick button and the new supplement type will automatically be selected. Once you have finished providing pasture and supplementary feed information, a monthly feed supply graph is generated, which indicates how many tonnes of dry matter is produced per hectare on this property. It shows how much of the total feed supply comes from pasture and how much is supplemented. If you have more specific information for your property, you can click on the Customize button to enter your own values for kilograms of dry matter produced per month, plus the relevant quality information. You can also scale up the pasture production if your property has above average soil type for your area or a long history of fertiliser use, either of which might be reflected in soil tests, for example. Note that the supply graph at the bottom of the screen does not show any pasture carryover. Pasture carryover refers to the amount of ungrazed feed produced in a month that is still available in the next month, less wastage. When stock graze, some losses occur through trampling and fouling, for example. Wastage is commonly between 15 to 25% of what grows each month. That can be higher in late spring and summer due to decay, trampling and wind. It can be as high as 30 to 40% in highly digestible, high moisture content pastures, such as ryegrass or clover-based pastures. You can review and adjust wastage figures in the Customize section. If the graph looks realistic for your situation, click on Next Step to generate your feed demand graph. Otherwise, make further modifications within the Customize section. Next, to enable the Feed Demand Calculator to calculate the feed demand for your property, you will need to indicate how many cattle or sheep you have and provide details about their reproductive cycle. You will need to specify if the property runs breeding or trading enterprises or both. A breeding enterprise is one where cows or ewes are joined to bulls and rams to produce offspring, which are to be sold. Even though replacement females may be initially and regularly purchased in a breeding enterprise, they are usually kept within the herd until culled for age. Conversely, a trading enterprise is one where stock are purchased at a similar time each year and subsequently sold within a year of their purchase. For cattle breeding enterprises, expand the Calving tab. Options exist for calving once or twice a year. The ability to assign 2 calving periods is a useful option for those producers with split autumn and spring calving. The tool requires a calving month and this should be the month when calving starts. Since some producers join heifers to calve at 2 years old and others at 2.5 to 3 years old, you are asked to provide this information. This enables the tool to calculate feed demand more accurately, based on whether those 2-year-olds are in the breeding herd or not. Within the Breeding Herd tab, you must choose from a list of breeds and crosses, as this allows the tool to vary the growth rates and mature size, but also subsequent feed demands according to breed averages. Clicking on Edit Weights takes you to the Customize section, where you can input your own weights for each class of stock, as well as providing a reproduction rate. This figure represents the number of calves weaned per cow, so the default number of 0.9 is equivalent to 90% weaning rate, which is above the industry average. Note that a weaning rate is the number of calves weaned per number of cows joined, and is not the same as a pregnancy testing or calving percentage. The Start With column requires you to input numbers that you breed, while the Purchases indicate what class of stock, if any, are purchased. If you sell stock, fill in the Sales column, as this indicates when animals are sold and at what weights. If you trade cattle, you can click on the Trading tab to indicate when and how many cattle within each class are normally purchased and sold. Typical purchase and sale weights are also required, as the tool uses the average size and weight gain to determine how much feed is eaten by those animals. Sheep producers can click on the sheep icon and follow the same process, providing joining times, flock numbers, weaning rates, and so on. When the livestock inventory is completed, the Feed Demand Calculator uses standardized dry matter intake figures to produce a feed demand graph. This graph shows the total amount of feed eaten each month and includes the amount eaten by each class of livestock. The Annual Demand Summary lists the total live weight of beef or sheep produced on the property, including new calves weaned this year. Note that the number of kilograms of beef produced per hectare is often correlated with overall profitability, and so it may be useful to compare this number with other similar operations in your area. The next module will explain how to interpret the results and implement them into your enterprise's strategy.